Hello! With this monstrosity, straight from the deepest recesses of the fart zone, I welcome you back to my channel. 3 years ago, or actually a little less than 3 years ago, I started making videos in English, and my first videos in English were specifically about a comparison between Serum and Vital, which tried to be kind of as descriptive and precise as it could, which wasn't much at the time, since Vital was very new and neither me nor many others had that much time to understand it thoroughly. Today, 3 years have passed. Both synths had some minor or major updates and other things have happened, and so can we now answer a few questions like, does it make sense to still compare these two synths? Can we decide which one is actually the best, if we really need to? And can this discussion be of any relevance today? So, neither of the synth would really need an introduction today, but I'll give both of them one anyway. Serum was one of the brain children of Steve Duda. Well, it's not like it was. And it was designed to be somehow some sort of a dream synth. In 2014, it was all the rage, and it really transformed the way we think of plugins somehow. It has this amazingly captivating interface. I mean, if you look at it today, it doesn't look that great. I mean, you see these menus kind of Windows-ish. I mean, it's not really what we expect from a modern plugin, but for 2014, this was way more than forgivable and was that, well, kind of in line with everything else. And it had lots of incredible features, the best sounding wavetable interpolation we had heard until then or around then, and a bunch of other interesting characteristics which made it kind of unique and very effective. Now, on the personal side, I jumped on the Serum bandwagon a little bit late because I was a little bit of a, I'd say, zebra Nazi, and I thought the idea, wow, this thing, it only has 2 oscillators, 1 filter, what am I going to do with it? But I could not be blind or deaf to the fact that it was amazingly easy to program and to create incredibly effective packages out of it. So I jumped on the bandwagon like only in 2019. I learned to appreciate it. When I last talked about Serum, it had one amazing feature which was just released, which was this thing of having the ability to shape. Sorry, we're listening to that, but also to Vital doing, the same patch we heard earlier, whereas it was just these two patches, one on top of the other. And see, I can morph the shape of my LFOs, which is kind of a unique feature. I mean, I don't know of any other synth which allows me to do that in this manner, because, I mean, it's not exactly like having wavetable LFOs. Like you see, in a wavetable LFO, you would only have one parameter, while here you can have several. So it's like, since you can have, like, if I'm not mistaken, 4 LFO buses, is like having 4-dimensional wavetable LFOs, which is kind of cool, isn't it? Then Vital. Well, what can I say about Vital that I haven't said already? It's been the main focus of my channel for almost 3 years. And, well, it's quite an instrument. A lot of people have compared it in several situations to Serum because, well, it is quite obvious why we did that. The way you program it, the way the visual feedback comes to you when you make something, the way it works somehow is very reminiscent of Serum. But it does, in my opinion, add a bunch of interesting updates, which are, well, in the key track LFOs, which allow for amazing things. But, somehow they're kind of secondary. What I really find amazing, as a concept, is the idea that it isn't that revolutionary. I mean, it was on the Virus TI, it's been on countless synths, but like the fact that you can modulate the single voices in the mod matrix, and this allows for, a lot more intricate and logically well, intricate somehow sound design process, and somehow allows this synth, even though it has a fixed architecture, well, fixed in the sense that you can turn parts of it off and parts on, but even though it has a fixed architecture, it doesn't really have a lot power less than many big modulars in hardware or software form may offer. Now in this patch I'm not using either of the two filters, just because I'm trying to show off the fact that this is an amazing FM machine. See, I'm modulating just the phase of this oscillator with LFO1, but I'm also modulating the phase of LFO1 with LFO2, which creates some weird artifacts. Well, I don't know. I find somehow interesting, but I'm that kind of person. So, since the question which one is the best might make sense into getting people to watch this video, it doesn't really make much sense to get an answer to that. The more interesting point, at least in my opinion, is that they are probably two very different synths on a philosophical level, and let me get into why I'm saying. A few years ago, I made a kind of a complex things about Serum, which I published on YouTube. I'll put a link about it somewhere. And after doing that, I posted on the forum, on the Serum forum, and I got an interesting response from Steve Duda about my observations. My observations were that the synth was somehow too small, in the sense that, well, it only had one filter, only two oscillators, only 4 knobs, not really that many possibilities to customize and shape the sound, and the effects chain is only serial, and man, I had a lot of complaints about this. And his answer was pretty simple and somehow illuminating. The answer was that, well, it's not what it's designed. It's not designed to be, a one single instrument wonder. If you need more, well, you're in a DAW. Why don't you just create another copy of it in another channel? So simplicity was somehow one of the key features in designing Serum, and this gets it to one of its more interesting and somehow controversial characteristics. See, this is intended to be a dream wavetable synth, and yet big part of it is in the filter, and it's one of its it's one of the most amazing things about it. It has so many different filters, including in the miscellaneous bunch of things which you are not really used to see in the filter section, such as the reverb, which had a big following. Because logically, why this is just some shaping stage, whatever. I've got two wavetable oscillators, a small sampler, a sub oscillator, and then I'm gonna throw parts of it through here. That's the whole point. And whatever is happening here is gonna be what happens here. Which, for example, might not be getting through, say, a low-pass or a high-pass filter. Here, for example, I'm using this reverb filter, and there is actually also some real reverb. But this is basically a simple 2-operator FM patch with the slight trick that you see this. The level is being automated by this envelope, but if I go into controlling the mix of this, what happens is that, see, my attack of this bell doesn't get through that filter at all. But also, since this filter is key-tracked, I'm having that each note has its own reverb filter. So you see that these low ones resonate in this way, and these high ones have this smaller reverb thing to them. Can I do the same thing in Vital? Well, not really. Here I'm trying to do something similar using phaser filters, and because I cannot use a reverb filter. Some might wonder, but why aren't you doing it, well, just using the reverb, since you have a reverb, and you could actually do this thing with the mod remapping or the loophole. Well, because this, in that case would be monophonic, and I really don't like controlling, I like the idea of having a sound like this, being polyphonic, and having all these possibilities, having, one instance of it for every single note, having the possibilities of getting all this crazy key track variety. I mean, it's great, but why don't I have two more complex filters? Was this an oversight? Well, could be. Somehow, another thing a lot of people have been questioning is, why don't I have, since I have two filters, a level out for every single filter? Because, it would be a lot easier to make, parallel routed filters, to handle patches in which filters are routed in parallel. And but this wasn't ever implemented into it, and this is I don't know. I mean, I don't know why. Was this an oversight, or does Matt Teitel have a philosophical reason why he thinks in a synthesizer such a knob is a useless excess of interface? But the point here is that in Vital, the complexity is elsewhere. I mean, here Vital has three oscillators. I have one spectral knob and one phase knob. I mean, these control a bunch of different effects and allow you to shape your tone in incredibly complex ways, and which I've discussed for quite some time on this channel. I mean, I've been doing a lot of things like this. The way you can handle the unison and the spread of the voices and the spread of the various parameters along with the voices, the fact that you can make these big chords out of a single oscillator, and there's so much more. The fact of having the mod remapping possibilities, which make the thing I've been talking about in some of my most successful videos about FM synthesis, about the thing that you can actually get a bunch of FM operators out of one single LFO, which is incredible in my book. So you might wonder, why are you worried about this video being relevant? Well, apparently a few years ago, actually in 2020 or 2021, Steve Duda announced that he was working on Serum 2, but I don't know, I'm not really the internet hound, but searching around, I couldn't really find a lot of information about it since then. On the other hand, Vital got its massive 1.5 update, but like in the recent months, Matt Teitel has been kind of a ghost in the forum and in the Discord server. Well, not really that much of a ghost. It was there, but there weren't that many news. And so the thing is does Vital have a future? There's people claiming it's going to be abandonware, and well, to be honest, I don't care. I mean, I would really be very happy to see it growing and improving and becoming more and more of the synth it can be, but it is already one monster of an instrument I'll keep using for years, even in its current form, and even if it will never ever become anything more, I'll keep using that synth because it works. It gave me a lot of possibilities I never even thought about before, and well, that's quite something. Now, Serum, do I dislike it? Not in the slightest of ways. Actually, I think it is an amazing synth specifically for its simplicity and straightforwardness, while it has a way more compelling somehow interface than the one of Surge, which is, well, somehow it is incredible because it is somehow more recent, as it has the whole Juice framework it has been developed on, but at the same time visually, for probably very good reasons, which still keep it lighter on a lot of processes, but it's still, not as friendly, doesn't give you as much feedback. But this is so simple and immediate and straightforward to program, and more importantly, it has this somehow odd characteristic of making difficult and complicated things a lot easier. See, you can do incredibly complex things out of just this to oscillator, a filter, and the simple effects section. And you see, I mean, and not only this. See, I often praise the idea of a fart zone, but in this synth there really, I wouldn't say there is none, but it's really a synth which, unlike others, like some other, somehow according to many big synths, great synths, it has a tendency to kind of sound good almost everywhere. And even though I often praise the FM capabilities of Vital, it's not like Serum has a hard time getting some nice FM out of it. You see, in this case, I'm just doing, like a 3-operator patch, but, making I wouldn't say a particularly intelligent use of the fact that these are wavetable oscillators. Therefore, you have a wavetable editor, so you can control the harmonic content of each one of them, and you can control a lot of other small little details. You can make, things making a difference, getting just the tone you want. So, after 3 years, my take on the subject is that two synths that are supposedly two different synths are, in fact, two different synths. Vital is not a Serum clone, and Serum is not an older mutilated Vital. They are two different synths. They have been designed by people which had a different idea of what a synth should be, and the result reflects this different intention. And once you try to wrap your head around programming one or the other in the best possible way, you might understand that there are tasks for which you should be going to one, and tasks for which you would be probably better off getting the other one. So I don't think I have a lot more to say. I don't think I have anything else to say. I hope you enjoyed this video and you find it somehow informative, even though it wasn't that technically deep as others. And let me know what you think in the comments. And if you haven't, since you're still listening to me talk, you should just click subscribe down here because you really like to hear me talking. All this said, well, there's been a bunch of links during the video. There's going to be more links in the description. Check them out if you want to know more about what I do with my amazing sound design skills. And all this said, mandatory self-promotion done. Bye. I hope to be making a new, better video soon.